Welcome, dear friends, to a tale of love, betrayal, and the indestructible strength of a single mother who overcomes life's cruelest twists and turns. Enjoy the story. Sarah Johnson rushed through the hospital corridors, her sneakers squeaking against the linoleum floor. She glanced at her watch. 10:55 p.m., just in time for her night shift. "Mom, wait!" called a voice from behind. Sarah turned to see her 16-year-old daughter Emily running to catch up, her chestnut ponytail bouncing. "Sweetie, what are you doing here so late? Is everything okay?" Sarah asked, enveloping Emily in a hug. "I'm worried about you, Mom," Emily said softly. "You're always working these crazy hours. I feel like I never see you anymore." Sarah sighed, her green eyes filled with weariness. "I know, Em, but ever since your dad passed away, I have to work extra shifts to pay off the debts he left us with. His failed business ventures really did a number on us." "I get it, Mom, but Jack misses you. I miss you," Emily pleaded. Sarah squeezed her daughter's shoulders. "I promise, once I get this debt paid off, things will be different. We'll have more time together as a family. For now, Aunt Karen will have to pitch in more. I'm doing this for us, to give us a better future. You just focus on being a kid a little longer, okay?" Emily nodded reluctantly. "Okay, Mom. I love you. Please be careful tonight." "I love you too, sweetie. I'll see you in the morning." With a quick kiss on her daughter's forehead, Sarah dashed off to the locker room to change into her scrubs. As Sarah tied her honey blonde hair back into a ponytail, her mind wandered to better days, before everything fell apart. "Come on, Sarah, it'll be great. This is my chance to finally make it big," David had said excitedly 2 years ago. His hazel eyes sparkled with dreams of entrepreneurial success. Sarah twisted her wedding band nervously. "I don't know, David. Starting a business is so risky, especially with 2 young kids. Are you sure we can afford this?" "Absolutely. I've got it all planned out. I just need to take out a loan to get things rolling. But babe, I'm telling you, this high-end dog grooming business is going to be a gold mine. I'll have that loan paid off in no time. Trust me." He wrapped his arms around her and flashed that charming grin she could never resist. "Well, if you're sure." Sarah relented, pushing aside her doubts. She trusted her husband. He'd never steered them wrong before. But she had been wrong to trust him. The business utterly tanked within a year. David started staying out late, claiming he was drumming up investors. Then one day, Sarah returned home early from her shift to a life-shattering discovery: David in bed with another woman. Their screaming match still echoed in her ears. "How could you do this to me? To our family?" Sarah had cried, throwing a vase against the wall. "I'm sorry, okay? I made a mistake," David yelled back defensively. "But I can't be tied down anymore, Sarah. I need my freedom. Rachel and I are in love." "Rachel? My best friend Rachel?" The betrayal pierced her heart like a dagger. "I can't believe this." "I'll still pay off the business loan, don't worry. And I'll send money for the kids. But I'm leaving, Sarah. I want a divorce," David stated coldly, before storming out and slamming the door behind him. Except he never paid a cent of the loan or child support. Because 2 weeks after walking out, David died, or so Sarah had thought. A sudden heart attack, she was told. Although devastated, Sarah picked up the broken pieces for her children's sake, working tirelessly to stay afloat. Rachel disappeared from her life, unable to face the destruction she helped cause. A knock on the locker room door startled Sarah back to the present. "Come in," she called out. The door opened, revealing a ruggedly handsome man in a security guard uniform. "Hey there, Sarah. I thought I might find you here," he said with a warm smile. "Oh, hi, Michael," Sarah replied, feeling a flutter in her stomach at the sight of him. She had first noticed the new evening security guard a few weeks ago. In his early 40s, with chiseled features and kind brown eyes, Michael Novak had a reassuring presence. He always went out of his way to chat with Sarah and brighten her overnight shifts. Though she felt the undeniable spark between them, Sarah remained hesitant. She had her kids to think about and couldn't afford any romantic distractions. "Sarah, I was wondering," Michael began, rubbing the back of his neck boyishly. "Would you maybe want to grab coffee together sometime? I'd love to get to know you better outside of work." Sarah bit her lip. Coffee did sound nice, especially with someone as sweet as Michael, but her responsibilities weighed heavily. I don't know, Michael. I'm flattered, but things are really complicated for me right now. I have 2 kids. I'm up to my eyeballs in debt. I'm just not sure it's the right time. Michael took her hand gently, his expression full of understanding. Hey, I get it. Life is messy, but I think you're an incredible woman, Sarah. You're doing an amazing job with your kids and working so hard. You deserve to have someone in your corner. I'm not going to push you into anything you're not ready for. I just want a chance to get to know you better, in a totally low-pressure way. What do you say? His earnestness tugged at her heartstrings. It had been so long since someone had shown genuine interest and care for her. Okay, Sarah found herself saying with a small smile. 1 coffee, after my shift ends tomorrow morning. Michael's face broke into a delighted grin. Fantastic! It's a date. I mean, not a date unless you want it to be. I'm totally cool with… Sarah laughed, putting a finger to his lips. I know what you mean. Now get out of here before I change my mind. Still grinning, Michael gave a mock salute. Yes, ma'am. He headed for the door, turning back to add, I'll see you in the morning, Sarah. Can't wait. With a wink, he departed. Shaking her head in amusement, Sarah finished changing into her scrubs. She had to admit, the prospect of coffee with Michael filled her with a warm, fuzzy feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Maybe, just maybe, she could carve out a little sliver of happiness for herself amidst the chaos of single motherhood and financial strain. She owed herself that much. With a determined nod, Sarah headed out to begin her shift, a new lightness in her step. 4 hours later, the wail of ambulance sirens pierced the 3 a.m. calm. Sarah rushed to the ER entrance as a gurney was wheeled in bearing a bloodied man. What do we have? She asked urgently, taking in the patient's battered state. Her eyes widened as she realized she recognized the black hair and chiseled jaw beneath the bruises and grime. Oh my God, David? Her supposedly dead ex-husband gazed up at her, his expression a mix of fear and pleading. Please help me, he whispered hoarsely. Sarah's mind reeled as the other nurses began prepping him for surgery. She tried to process this surreal twist. How was he alive? Where had he been all this time while she struggled as a single parent? Fury and confusion swirled in her mind. She took a deep breath, fighting to stay professional. Sarah! Dr. Ravi Kapoor, the lead surgeon, beckoned her. Scrub in. I need all hands on deck. This guy has internal bleeding. We need to get under control. Stat. Willing herself into crisis mode, Sarah nodded and hurried to the OR. No matter her feelings, she had a job to do. Her patient's life depended on it, even if that patient was her lying, cheating dirtbag of an ex. 2 grueling hours later, Sarah slumped exhaustedly against the wall outside the OR. They had managed to stop the bleeding and stabilize David, but he would need further surgeries in the coming days. She still couldn't wrap her mind around him being alive all this time. Sarah, is it really you? A hesitant voice called out. Sarah looked up to see none other than Rachel, her ex-best friend, standing before her. The years had aged Rachel. Gone was the mischievous twinkle in her eyes, replaced by dark circles and an expression of guilt. What are you doing here, Rachel? Sarah asked coldly. Come to check on your boyfriend? Rachel winced. Sarah, please, let me explain. David and we were in love. Or I thought we were. He promised we would be together after he left you. But then his business completely failed, and he ended up deep in debt to some dangerous people. What are you talking about? David died of a heart attack right after he left me, Sarah countered. Rachel shook her head sadly. No, that's just what we wanted you to believe. David thought it would be easier on you and the kids than knowing the truth, that he spent the last 2 years on the run from loan sharks. He dragged me into his mess. Tears filled her eyes. I'm so sorry, Sarah, for everything. I never meant to hurt you. Sarah stared at her former friend, unsure how to feel. The betrayal still stung, but Rachel looked so broken. She sighed heavily. I don't know if I can forgive you, Rachel, but I can see you've been through hell. I take it those loan sharks are the ones who put David in my ER tonight. Rachel nodded miserably. They finally caught up with us. We didn't know where else to turn. Sarah, I know it's unforgivable to ask, But is there any way you can help keep David safe? Maybe not press charges so the loan sharks can't find him? Anger flared in Sarah's chest. Unbelievable! After everything you two put me through, you want me to help you? No way! You made your bed, now lie in it. I have my children to think about. I can't get tangled up in David's mess again. But they'll kill him, Rachel pleaded desperately. Not my problem. I'm done cleaning up his mistakes. He's the police's problem now, Sarah declared, though her heart clenched painfully. Despite everything, a small part of her still cared for the man she once loved. Just then, Michael rounded the corner, his concerned gaze landing on Sarah. Hey, is everything all right? I heard about the surgery. He trailed off as he noticed Rachel. Sarah managed a tired smile. It's a long story, but I'll be okay. Thanks, Michael. He placed a comforting hand on her shoulder before eyeing Rachel suspiciously. And who's this? Rachel exchanged an apprehensive glance with Sarah, then looked down shamefully. I'm nobody. I was just leaving. As Rachel scurried away, Sarah turned to Michael with a heavy sigh. You may want to cancel that coffee. My life just got a whole lot more complicated. Over cups of strong, badly needed coffee in the hospital cafeteria, Sarah poured out the whole story to Michael. He listened intently, his brow furrowing as she described David's betrayal, faked death, and dangerous entanglements. Wow, he said when she finished. That's a lot. I can't imagine how difficult this must be for you. Are you going to tell your kids their father is alive? Sarah groaned, massaging her temples. I don't know. Part of me wants to protect them from the truth. They've already been through so much. But Emily's 16 now. She deserves to know what really happened, even if it's ugly. She looked up at Michael pleadingly. What do you think I should do? Michael took her hand, running a soothing thumb over her knuckles. I think you should trust your instincts. You're an incredible mother, Sarah. You'll know what's right for your kids. And whatever you decide, I'll support you. His steadfast belief in her brought tears to her eyes. Thank you, Michael. I don't know what I did to deserve having you in my corner, but I'm so grateful. He tugged her into a hug, letting her cry softly against his broad chest. You deserve the world, Sarah, he murmured into her hair. Don't ever doubt that. Drawing strength from his embrace, Sarah pulled back and squared her shoulders. You're right. I need to do what's best for Emily and Jack. No more lies. I'll tell them the truth about their father, and I'll make sure David faces the consequences of his actions. It's time to stop running from the past. Michael smiled proudly. That's my girl. You've got this, and I'll be right beside you every step of the way. With a heavy heart, Sarah knocked on Emily's bedroom door. Em, can I come in? I need to talk to you about something important. Emily looked up from her homework, concern etched on her face at her mother's serious tone. Sure, Mom. What's going on? Taking a deep breath, Sarah sat on the edge of the bed. It's about your dad, sweetie. He's alive. Emily's eyes widened in shock. What? But you said he died of a heart attack years ago. I know, and I'm so sorry for not telling you the truth sooner. The reality is that your father faked his death to escape the debts from his failed business. He's been on the run this whole time, with Rachel. Realization dawned on the teenager's face. Rachel? Your best friend Rachel? The one who disappeared after Dad died, or apparently didn't die. Anger flickered in her eyes. Sarah nodded sadly. They were having an affair. Rachel helped him stage everything. I just found out last night when your dad was brought into the ER. He'd been attacked by the people he owes money to. I can't believe this, Emily whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. How could he abandon us like that, and for Rachel? Her hands clenched into fists. As far as I'm concerned, my father died the day he left us. I want nothing to do with him. Oh, honey. Sarah gathered her daughter into her arms, stroking her hair soothingly as Emily sobbed. I'm so sorry you have to deal with this pain, but I promise you we will get through this together. You, me, and Jack. We're a team, and things will get better. We've survived so much already, and we'll survive this too. Emily clung to her mother, drawing strength from her reassurance. I love you, Mom. Thank you for always being there for us, even when Dad wasn't. I love you too, sweet girl. More than anything, Sarah murmured, her own tears falling. Never forget that. Mother and daughter held each other, weathering yet another storm as only the strongest of families could. 6 months later. Hey, Mom, what's the occasion? Jack asked curiously as he watched Sarah bustling around the kitchen, preparing a fancier-than-usual dinner. The savory aroma of roast chicken and herbs filled the air. Yeah, what gives? You never make this much effort for a regular Saturday night, Emily chimed in, setting the table. Sarah paused in stirring the mashed potatoes, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. Well, I have some news. I wanted us to have a special family dinner because there's someone I'd like you both to officially meet. The siblings exchanged a surprised glance. Who? Jack asked. Taking a fortifying breath, Sarah replied, His name is Michael. He's the security guard from the hospital, the one I told you about. We've been seeing each other for a few months now, and things have gotten serious. I didn't want to introduce him until I was sure, but I think he might be the one. Emily's eyebrows shot up. Wow, Mom, that's big. Do we have to call him Dad? Jack wrinkled his nose. No, of course not, Sarah assured him. Michael knows he could never replace your father, but he cares about me, and he cares about you kids. He makes me really happy. I hope you'll give him a chance. The teenagers looked at each other, then back at their mother. If he's good to you and to us, then I'm willing to give him a shot, Emily decided. You deserve to be happy, Mom. Yeah, me too, Jack agreed. But if he breaks your heart, I'm unleashing my foam dart arsenal on him. Sarah laughed, pulling her kids into a hug. I have the best children in the world, you know that? And don't worry, if he breaks my heart, I'll be right beside you with a super soaker. The happy moment was interrupted by the doorbell. Sarah smoothed her hair nervously. That'll be him. Be nice, okay? We'll be on our best behavior, Emily promised, crossing her fingers behind her back. Sarah hurried to answer the door while the kids snickered. She returned a moment later with Michael in tow. Emily, Jack, I'd like you to meet Michael. Michael, these are my amazing kids. Sarah introduced them, her eyes shining with love and hope. It's great to finally meet you both, Michael said warmly, shaking their hands. Your mom talks about you all the time. I can see why she's so proud. Jack grinned. I like him already. Do you play video games, Michael? I've been known to crush a game of Fortnite now and then, Michael winked conspiratorially. Okay, he's cool, Jack declared. Jack, you can interrogate Michael about his gaming skills later, Sarah laughed. Let's eat before the food gets cold. As the new quartet settled around the table, passing dishes and sharing stories, Sarah felt her heart swell with contentment. For so long, it had been just her and the kids against the world. But now, watching her children start to welcome Michael into their lives, she could envision a brighter future, one filled with love, laughter, and the healing power of second chances. Soft music filled the rustic barn, strung with twinkling fairy lights. Sarah stood in front of a floor-length mirror, scarcely able to believe the radiant bride gazing back at her. Her simple ivory gown hugged her curves, the lace sleeves grazing her wrists. Emily stood behind her, carefully pinning a flowered comb into Sarah's curled updo. Mom, you look stunning, Emily said, her eyes misty. Michael won't be able to take his eyes off you. Sarah reached back to squeeze her daughter's hand. Thank you, honey, for everything. I couldn't have gotten through these past few years without you. That's what family's for, Emily replied with a smile. Now let's get you married. The barn doors opened, revealing the small gathering of friends and family. Michael stood at the end of the aisle, looking dashing in his dark gray suit. His face lit up as Sarah appeared, escorted by a beaming Jack. As she reached the altar, Michael took her hands in his. You are the most beautiful sight I've ever seen, he murmured reverently. Sarah's heart swelled with love and gratitude. She thought back to the broken woman she had been a year ago, drowning in debt and betrayal. Now, thanks to Michael's unwavering love and support, she had found her way back to happiness. The couple exchanged heartfelt vows, pledging their devotion and partnership in whatever trials lay ahead. When they were pronounced husband and wife, The barn erupted in cheers. Sarah pulled Michael down for a kiss, sealing their new beginning. As the reception got into full swing, Sarah watched contentedly as her new husband spun Emily around the dance floor and matched Jack forkful for forkful of wedding cake. Her family was whole again, different than before, but so much stronger. Rachel approached tentatively, offering a small smile. "Congratulations, Sarah. I'm really happy for you." Sarah searched her heart and found the resentment she once clung to had faded. "Thank you, Rachel. I hope you find your own happiness someday." Rachel nodded gratefully and slipped back into the crowd. Sarah knew forgiveness would be a long road, but she was ready to take the first step. A familiar song came on, and Michael appeared at her elbow with a mischievous grin. "I believe I owe my wife a dance. Shall we?" Laughing, Sarah let him lead her onto the floor. In the circle of his arms, swaying to the music, all was right in her world at last. The gavel's bang echoed through the courtroom. "On the charge of fraud, the jury finds the defendants guilty," the foreman announced. Relief surged through Sarah as David and Rachel were led away in handcuffs. It had been a long, painful trial, reopening old wounds. But seeing justice served brought a measure of closure. Michael squeezed her hand supportively. "It's over, love. He can't hurt you or the kids anymore." Sarah leaned into her husband's solid strength. "I know. But even with the debt he left us with, I can't help but feel a little sad for him. For the man he used to be, before greed and selfishness twisted him." "You have such a good heart," Michael said softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "It's one of the million things I love about you." Managing a smile, Sarah gazed up at him. "What did I ever do to deserve you?" "You were you," he replied simply. "Through all the hardship, you never lost your kindness, your resilience, your incredible capacity to love. Sarah, you're the strongest person I know, and I'm the luckiest man alive to get to spend forever with you." Tears glinted in Sarah's eyes as she drew him down for a tender kiss. "Forever," she echoed. "I like the sound of that." Hand in hand, they walked out of the courthouse and into the bright sunlight. Sarah breathed deeply, savoring the feel of the sun on her skin and the lightness in her soul. For so long, she had carried the weight of David's betrayal, the burden of his debt. But now, with Michael beside her and her children safe and happy, she was finally free. Sarah knew challenges still lay ahead. Parenthood, marriage, life itself, none of it was ever easy. But she also knew that with faith, love, and her little family, she could face anything. As she and Michael drove off to pick up the kids for a celebratory pizza night, Sarah smiled. The future was bright, and she was more than ready to embrace this beautiful second chance at love and happiness. Because if there was one thing Sarah had learned, it was that hope could be found even in the darkest of times. And sometimes, when you least expected it, life gave you a reason to believe in love again.